Thank you. I think this is the third year in a row now I've been to the Magico Summit, and it's absolutely fantastic. I suppose, as you probably are aware, the e-commerce community isn't massive, so events like this really help the community grow, and it's good to kind of share the good, the bad, and the ugly with all things e-commerce. And yesterday was great to come up and meet so many of you, and just go through some of maybe the difficulties or challenges you're having. So I'm going to talk about how to future-proof your paid media strategy. I suppose I have some good news and bad news. The bad news is there is no silver bullet that is going to future-proof absolutely everything. I think we're all very aware that digital marketing moves at an incredibly alarming rate. There's nothing you can do to completely future-proof, but there is things that we can do to mitigate it and make it as streamlined as humanly possible. So in today's session, I'll just kind of run through quickly what's paid media and how it differs from other media channels. I'll take a look at the paid media landscape, how it's kind of evolved over the last 20 years and where we are today. I'll be looking at I've tried to kind of boil it down to the main frustrations and concerns that we get from our clients and in terms of from our agency, what we hear, and I try to answer those as kind of best I can. A bit like Gillian, what you said, I'm around afterwards as well if there's anything else that you want to run through or cover. And then we'll go through the solutions and how to keep you ahead of your competition. Okay. Oh, sorry. Perfect. Oh, sorry. So just a quick introduction. My name is Paul Walsh. I'm a performance marketing expert. I started doing performance marketing about 11 years ago. I worked in London with the Publicis Group. They're a global media buyer, and I worked across quite a large number of large household names. My first ever e-commerce client was Qantas Airlines, which is quite an unusual retail or an e-commerce client, but again, I got to learn quite a lot of cutting-edge strategies and tactics and how to, again, just kind of get ahead of the competition. So Adhere Digital was set up 5 years ago. We're a team of performance marketing experts. We scale e-commerce businesses intelligently using machine learning and data. And yeah, I know Ursula kind of alluded to it. We are also a Premier Partner agency. There's 1,000 digital marketing agencies in Ireland. There's only 9 Premier Partner agencies, and it's quite a high accreditation. So what does Premier Partner mean? It kind of probably doesn't mean a whole pile to a lot of people, but from us, it means we are very used to managing large budgets. We have managed over 10 million in our advertising spend. Our team is highly trained. They do about 5 exams each year. And in terms of our client retention, we have clients that have been with us for nearly 5 years. So since the day we started, I think 92% typically spend about 3 or more years with us. So again, another kind of factor. A couple of clients there we work with as well. I know I work with more in this room. Sorry, I couldn't fit everyone on the slide. And just the first thing I kind of want to go through is what is paid media, because there is, within digital marketing, you've kind of got your digital marketing trifecta, and there's different types of media within that. So you've got your owned media, your earned media, and your paid media. So your owned media are things like your website, your blogs, your social media handles, email. Actually, I forgot that one, but that is all your owned media. You own that. Earned media is things and positive things that happen off the back of your digital marketing. So the mentions, the likes, the reposts, the shares, service reviews, product reviews, that's all earned off the back of your digital. And then the paid is what I'm going to be talking about today. That is anything Google ads, Meta ads, TikTok ads, paid influencers, etc. So just want to have a quick look and to kind of give people some perspective of paid media and where it's kind of come over the last few years. You've got, on the y-axis here, I've got global advertising spend in billions. So we've got 50 billion right up to 250 billion. And again, this is global advertising spend. And then across the x-axis, I've got the years, going back from about 2001 right up to 2023. And what I just wanted to chart and what I just wanted to get across here was where businesses are investing their budgets when it comes to paid media. Just a quick one, we'll start kind of from the bottom and work our way up. So TikTok, relatively new one, but it's paid media, about 18 billion going through that platform in terms of advertising spend. Not too bad for a business that's relatively new. Amazon then's a little bit more, about 20 billion worth of revenue going through the platform each year. Then you have a massive jump up to Meta, 137 billion each year going through Meta. Meta is, of course, Facebook and Instagram ads as well. You can see, though, and this is, again, the kind of problem, or not a problem, but it's with paid media. The iOS update happened in about 2019, and you can see the moment where businesses could no longer track revenue and sales coming from Meta and Facebook. So budgets were pulled immediately out of them, and Google did quite well that year. Businesses, even our agency, we invested a lot more of the Meta budgets right into Google and kind of stole it. But the Meta has since released the CAPI tracking, and you can track again. So, but then next big jump up is Google, 247 billion. That's the Google ads, the search ads, the shopping ads, the YouTube ads. Most of the retailers in here will be doing the shopping ads, and a bit of YouTube and a bit of search and a few other things. But just to put 247 billion into perspective, that's the entire GDP of New Zealand. So it's a huge, 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 huge figure. And you can see how far ahead it is in terms of any other kind of advertising platform. And when we're doing paid media plans for our clients, this is typically the breakdown that we tend to see. Okay, so challenges and how do we get ahead of them? So first of all, paid media pros. There's a reason businesses have invested so much money in paid advertising. It is the fastest and most measurable and predictable way to scale a business. It doesn't matter whether you're trying to dominate a market or you're trying to do things quite leanly. You can scale things fast. And I've worked with brands over the years, that have completely wanted to dominate, a certain keyword or a certain term at all costs, and they're just trying to gobble up a whole market. But then I have other brands that we worked with that want to be as lean as humanly possible and only want to get sales at a certain price. The paid media concerns, however, and this is kind of what I was alluding to, the main questions we get asked as an agency, and the three things that I'd like to cover today and how we can kind of get ahead of them. So paid media concerns, how do we get ahead of the rising costs? The CPCs, on average, are going up about 16% year on year. So it can be quite a difficult one to kind of get ahead of the cost, but I'll go through some of the steps. How do we get ahead of the competition? There's obviously a lot more retailers in there. And how do we keep up with the kind of constant changes? Google Ads had 300 changes made to it last year. Across TikTok and Amazon and Meta, you're probably looking at another 200 odd changes as well. So as an agency, we find it incredibly hard to keep up with the changes. So I can only imagine the likes of yourselves, the retailers, how difficult it can be. So again, I'll go through a couple of steps that you can kind of keep ahead from that point of view as well. Yeah, just a quick one as well. Step one, if you're trying to get ahead of your costs and you're trying to reduce costs, you will never be able to do it if you don't have analytics set up. So if you're not tracking revenue, should be your first step. I know Gillian and Orla went through it, and I couldn't agree more. If you don't understand where your money's going and where sales are being generated, you'll never be able to fully get ahead of your media budgets. I would say, I know myself and Orla, we were having a conversation about this last night, in terms of analytics. It's hard because all the analytical platforms will use different attribution models. Some will be using last-click attribution, multi-touch point attribution, first touch. There's so many different ways they measure actual transactions and sales. So it's important in 2024 to actually use multiple sources of analytics and get a second source of truth when you're looking at your figures. Step two, decide on how you want to measure your campaign success, and then decide what strategy you're going to implement. So are we going to measure campaigns on return on advertising spend, ROAS? I'm sure a lot of you will be familiar with that. You've also got POAS, so it's profit on advertising spend. So that is looking at bringing in the cost of goods sold and optimizing towards profit rather than return on advertising spend? Or do you want to just do a target CPA? We're willing to get as many sales as possible so long as you get them for a certain price, so £5, £10, whatever it might be. So another way to get ahead of the rising costs is leveraging scripts. Scripts are extremely important in the paid media advertising gig these days. So what are scripts? They're just bits of code that we pull into your paid media accounts, and it extracts more and more information. Google and Meta, all platforms are really, really good at hiding a lot of things in terms of where your spend is going. And the more you know about your spend, and maybe you're spending on keywords and on products that are unprofitable, they don't care. Meta doesn't care, Google doesn't care. They're just trying to make as much revenue as humanly possible. I think PMax was introduced last year. I think this is a prime example of just hiding a lot of that information. It can be quite frustrating. So what we do, we implement scripts. There's a little chart here just showing how some products might be overspending and underspending, and then we know when to pull and pause budgets on those accordingly. Again, like I said, they're just constantly trying to hide that revenue information just so you'll spend more and more on those platforms. So we sit in the middle. I know, yes, we're a Google Premier partner, but we're not channel agnostic. We don't care as long as we're getting the best results for our clients. We don't really care what channel we use. So again, using scripts, extracting that hidden information is really, really valuable. Yeah, and then the results, so reduce wasted advertising spend, increase conversion rates, and lower the cost per acquisitions as well. Another way to get ahead of the rising costs, we talked about tracking there earlier. There are multiple different ways to track the same thing, essentially. Kind of sounds a little bit confusing, but depending on what tag or depending on what channel you are looking to track, you can have very different results for the very same client. So here's a client, it's a 30-day window, an e-commerce client, and they're measuring their sales using 3 different types of tags or platforms. So at the bottom, we can see this is the GA4 tag. It's measuring about 873 in transactions and about 400,000 in revenue. The same client, the same 30-day period window, are using a Google Ads purchase tag or a Meta pixel also. And you can see that this is actually measuring over 1,082 conversions and 490,000 revenue. A huge difference in the two. Exact same client, exact same window. Last but not least, and this is the server-side tracking where I think it's a bit of a game changer, especially with the removal of cookies. Again, same client, website is able to measure 1,161 conversions and 519,000 in revenue. So, huge difference if you're measuring GA4 versus if you're measuring server-side tracking. Why is this important? Basically, all campaigns, and whether it's Meta or whether it's on Google, machine learning is so, so important. The more signals you give it, the more information you're feeding it, the more efficient you can become with your spend. So by giving it this information, you're losing out on quite a lot of data. And you could, again, just be wasting spend that you shouldn't be wasting. So to try and get a full picture, server-side tracking is a really, really good one. And I know with a lot of the Magico clients, we're working on that already. So another thing in terms of budget and rising costs, automated rules. I don't see this happening often enough really in accounts, but in your Google Ads account or your Meta account, you can set up rules that'll basically, very simple, you can just put in if the cost per acquisition is greater than 10 or 20 or whatever it might be, it'll automatically pause those products or pause those campaigns. And again, saving you money and a great time saver as well, you know. Now, it might be a case, you will, Meta or Google will email you the list of items it has paused, and it just might be a case that this month they don't work well, or it might be too expensive to advertise those, so you might revisit those products later down the line. At the end, the other questions, again, just to look at how do we get ahead of the competition. So, really, really valuable tools that Google has at the, I'm not sure, do many of you guys, and just a show of hands, use your Merchant Center Your Google Merchant Center, how often would you be regularly using it? Yes, no, on a monthly basis? Okay, a few. Your Merchant Center, I feel like a few years ago it was quite useless and it didn't have much valuable information, but it's getting really, really, really powerful now. It is doing cross comparisons on prices in real time across every single industry, and you can get really, really good data. I'm not a big fan of discounts. I'm not a big discounter. I don't, there's a time and place for it. But, for example, here's an example of a client that it shows this is your suggested price. This is our price. So this is a client in the UK selling Miracle-Gro, £22.99. Google is telling me if I just change my price to £21.13, I'll have a predicted uptick in clicks, about 82% more clicks, and I'll have 101% more conversions just by changing the price slightly. I see retailers do 30, 20, 40% blanket sales. I'm not a big fan of them. If I'm going to be in an auction with someone, I just want to be that slightly cheaper than them. So our ads in real time, we can set up automated pricing. So if someone is coming on Google, looking at the product, our price can change in real time based on the competition. And just, again, marginally, we can get a higher, and then we can just kind of steal that client away. So another good way to increase conversion rates, get ahead of your costs, and get ahead of the competition. Johnny, live demo, is that okay? Just want to quickly show you. Last night I was chatting to a retailer that did not want me to show you this because it's quite valuable information. But I said I'd do the noble thing and show you anyways. One sec. Perfect. You see my, oh yeah, perfect. Thank you very much, Johnny. Okay, so here is your Merchant Center. Like I said, anyone here that's running e-commerce ads will have this. Like I said, it's cross-comparing all the time prices in real time with other people. But one of the things that I quite like about it, you can look at your business and see, right, how do we stack up against retailers in similar verticals? Our price is too high, too low? Are they at the benchmark, whatever it might be? So you can see in this instance, this is a UK client. 36% of the products are below benchmark. About 19% are at the same level as everyone else, and about 44% of them are just higher than everyone else. So again, if you're looking at your monthly data and thinking, why are my sales not high as they were? It might be a thing that maybe we're just being a little bit too high in our price, and we can kind of pull it back. Equally, you don't want it the other way around either. You don't want to be way too cheap and getting loads of sales but losing loads of margin. So that's the other side of the coin as well. Very useful tool. Really, really like it. If you're in your Merch Center, there's another thing just here called Best Sellers. I think again, another thing we were kind of chatting about last night, it's just so interesting to get that real-time data. And there's definitely retailers in this room who have come to me multiple times and asked, I won't name names, but they've asked what products we put up online. Where do we start? Where do we start? Using things like this is invaluable. So, for example, here's a client, right? They're in the DIY sector. We can see that the Stanley Quencher cup, for example, we don't have it. It's not in our inventory, and we don't actually have that product. So what I usually do is I just take the product that Google is telling me, this is very popular, maybe you should go and take a look at it. Pop it into your keyword planner. So every Google Ads account will have a keyword planner as well. Pop it in there, very simply, hit get results. And what it'll be able to tell me in pretty real time, you can get an idea of how many people are searching this product. So yes, we can see, Google is right. It's saying that this product is kicking off. And we can see that it has jumped from about 12,000 searches up to about 60,000 searches in January. So using that information is really, really invaluable when you're trying to populate your website and think of products that you want to have on your site. Perfect. I'll just pop back to the, yeah, thank you. Brilliant. This is an old one, gold, but it's very valuable, but I don't see enough retailers doing it. It's the ads library. If you go to facebook.com/ads/library, you have a search engine there that will show you every Facebook ad that's running for a particular brand, every Instagram ad, everything. It's free, doesn't cost you anything, and you can go in, have a little nosy around. One thing that we do, we work with, we work with every single industry, but a lot of our clothing brands, we do look at this quite closely, and we look at what clothing brands are testing. So we'll often take a much larger brand than ours that have huge deep pockets, because they spend hundreds of thousands and millions testing these ads, and you can just go in and see and take a bit of inspiration from them and help make your own ads. So, like I said, a lot of you might be familiar with that one. Definitely, again, it's just another way to keep ahead of your competition, seeing what they're doing, and yeah, leveraging that as best as you can. Perfect. Just finally, yeah, just I suppose to kind of go through those touch points and just, yeah, go through everything. And these are kind of the most important things, just again, keeping ahead and future-proofing your paid media strategy. Use multiple analytical platforms just to help to keep up with the cost effectiveness of your business and your paid media. Implement scripts. Load of hidden information in those accounts. If you want to be more efficient, you've got to start using scripts. Upgrade your tracking infrastructure, things like server-side tracking. Again, that's something that's feasible with Magico. I can have a conversation with people afterwards if they're interested in learning a little bit more about it. And then the free resources, there is plenty of them, and don't forget your Google Ads account is a keyword planner and a merchant center. And just get in there and start seeing, seeing all the kind of competitor benefits of it. So that's it for me, and thank you very much. Cheers.